Hey y'all. Okay, as a lot of y'all already know, I know a lot of people have been keeping up with the Bill Cosby case. His sentencing was today. Okay, it says Bill Cosby sentenced to 3 to 10 years in state prison. He was locked up immediately. And like I said, this happened today. Okay, so a few hours ago. Alright, we'll look at these videos. Well, here, no, we'll go ahead and look at this now. Okay. Well, if it's going to play. Oh, here it is.
RV made a special purchase of new Winnebago motorhomes.
I'm just going to mute that real quick while the ad is playing.
A new Intent is discounted over $43,000.
Yeah, this is crazy. I mean, he got a long time, and they said that if he serves the whole sentence, he'll be 91 when he gets out. Imagine that.
Mr. Cosby, any comments, sir? No.
You know, I know a lot of people don't want to believe, that he did this. That's why a lot of people think he's innocent. I think it's just that they don't want to believe that. They look at this man, like how we've always known him, as Cliff Huxtable or, from his Puddin' Pop commercials, and he was on another show like Kids Say the Darndest Things. Bill Cosby was, he was for what he portrayed, he was a positive role model. Okay? And, I don't know, we don't know if this is true or not. We weren't there, whatever. Okay, I don't know. But however, yes, I feel like if he did commit these crimes, if he committed all the crimes, they're saying that he was accused of, then 10 years wouldn't even be enough, okay? Because there's too many people. But, however, I think that it was like only maybe like one or two that, that the charges stuck. I think it was one. But, that's why he got sentenced to what he did. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't really have an opinion on whether he did or didn't, because I don't know. This right here, at 12:08 p.m., Andrew Wyatt, a spokesperson for Cosby, just made a statement outside the courthouse calling the trial the most racist and sexist trial in the history of the United States. Wyatt continued by saying they persecuted Jesus and look what happened. Not saying Mr. Cosby is Jesus, but we know what this country has done to black men for centuries. Okay, and here's the video for that. I didn't even watch the live earlier. I started watching a little bit of it, but I've been very busy today. I've had a lot of running around to do.
No one ever expects anything like this, but I want to say a few words, if that's okay. I believe and think it is important to point out that this has been the most racist and sexist trial in the history of the United States. Dr. Cosby has been one of the greatest civil rights leaders in the United States for over the last 50 years. He has also been one of the greatest educators of men and boys over the last 50 years. This was not pointed out to the jury or allowed in court because the racist and sexist mass media was attacking and denouncing Dr. Cosby whenever his lawyers even hinted there was racist and sexism present. All three of the psychologists who testified against Dr. Cosby were white women who make money off of accusing black men of being sexual predators. Mr. Cosby's doing great, and Mr. Cosby knows that God is watching over him. He knows that these are lies. They persecuted Jesus, and look what happened. Not saying Mr. Cosby is Jesus, but we know what this country has done to black men for centuries. So Mr. Cosby's doing fine. He's holding up well. And everybody who wants to say anything negative, you're a joke as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. Like I said, I didn't
No
watch
one ever expects anything like this.
the live sentencing yet. I will go back and watch that. But regardless of what his color is, whether he's black, white, Chinese, Hispanic, it don't matter what he is. If he's wrong, he's wrong. And I'm not saying that he is. Like I said, I do not know. But regardless of what color you are, anything of that nature, if you do the crime, you have to do the time. Okay? So moving on to the next thing. At 11:55 a.m., Gloria Allred and several of Cosby's victims appeared outside the courthouse and spoke briefly with reporters. Gloria said, "This has been a long journey to justice for all the accusers. We're glad the judgment day has finally come for Mr. Cosby." At 11:47 a.m., Cosby has been remanded and will be locked up immediately. According to witnesses in the courthouse, Cosby emptied his pockets and removed his tie before being taken into custody. 10:55 a.m., Bill Cosby will serve 3 to 10 years in a Pennsylvania state prison. The judge just announced the length of sentence. The judge has denied Cosby bail. If Cosby serves the full term, he'll be 91 when he is released. Wow. In imposing the sentence, the judge said, "I'm not permitted to treat him any differently based on who he is or who he was." As she said, "Mr. Cosby, you took her beautiful, healthy young spirit and crushed it." He told Constant, "I heard the very clear impact on your life." At 10:50 a.m., Bill Cosby will go to state prison. So said the judge in his sexual assault case. The judge just said prison will be Cosby's fate. He has not yet announced the length of sentence. Okay, now the times on here are, going down instead of, from the earliest time on up. Okay? Because it was just being updated. Bill Cosby was all smiles as he entered court Tuesday morning, but ahead of his sentencing, the judge ruled what would be classified a sexually violent predator. It's not a good label to carry. What I can say, okay, if Mr. Cosby is not guilty, I do commend him, for being able to still carry a smile. And, look at this. If he's not guilty, I commend him very well on that and being strong and still continuing to smile.
The Mesa RV made a special purchase of new Winnebago motorhomes
Let me
all
mute
over
that.
the market with huge savings passed
And
on to you. A new
I used to
Advance
love
is
Cosby
discounted over
Show.
$43,000 to
That's what I grew up on. In the
$76,998 or
'80s,
$406 per
we
month.
grew up on the
Special purchase
Cosbys.
savings only at La
They
Mesa
were the
RV.
ideal family. This is when they arrived to court.
It's a rainy, beautiful day.
Well, he sure looks good to be 81. The decision came down Tuesday morning that it means the 81-year-old disgraced comedian's name will appear on a sex offender registry, which is sent to neighbors and schools. He also has to undergo lifetime counseling and must report quarterly to authorities. Okay, here, let me pause this. Okay, so this is the rest of the article. Also in court Tuesday, prosecutors released Andrea Constand's full victim impact statement in which she details the harrowing experience of being sexually assaulted by Cosby and the aftermath. Okay, so I'm going to read. We'll go back and look at this impact statement in a minute from the victim. In the letter, Constand said she couldn't talk, eat, sleep, or socialize after Cosby assaulted her back in 2004 at his home. She added the psychological, emotional, and financial bullying included a slander campaign in the media that left my entire family reeling in shock and disbelief. She also describes the time right after the assault while she still had to work with Cosby in the Temple University athletic department. The sound of his voice over the phone felt like a knife going through my guts. The sight of the man who drugged and sexually assaulted me coming into the basketball office filled me with dread. Cosby is facing a maximum of 10 years in prison for the 3 sexual assault convictions, but the judge could go as light as probation. Okay, so I don't know why I thought it was only 1 that stuck. So maybe it was just for that one lady. Prosecutors want the judge to throw the book at Cosby and railed on the defense for suggesting house arrest is appropriate. Prosecutors said house arrest would put Cosby in the lap of luxury, pointing to the 81-year-old's wife, Camille, throwing a birthday party for her husband at the house back in July, complete with a live 5-piece jazz band that started jamming at 7 a.m. Cosby's trial lasted 13 days, which included testimony from Constand and 5 other women who claimed they were also drugged and sexually assaulted by Cosby. Cosby's June 2017 trial ended in a mistrial because the jury at the time had 2 not guilty holdouts. Okay, so here's the statement. It says, Andrea Constand, to truly understand the impact that sexual assault has had on my life, you have to understand the person that I was before it happened. At the time of the assault, I was 30 years old and a fit, confident athlete. I was strong and skilled with great reflexes, agility, and speed. When I graduated from high school in Toronto, I was one of the top 3 female high school basketball players in Canada. Dozens of American colleges lined up to offer me basketball scholarships, and I chose the University of Arizona. For 4 years, I was a shooting guard on the women's basketball team, scoring up to 30 points a game. It was an amazing time in my life, and I learned a lot. developed a circle of really good friends, many of them teammates, and traveled around to the U.S. to compete. The only downside was that I missed my family and developed severe homesickness. When it started to affect my studies and my training, my dad came up with the idea to move his own father and mother to Tucson. My grandparents were in their late 60s when they gamely agreed to move more than 2,000 miles to help me adjust to life away from home. They were retired after selling their Toronto restaurant business and figured the warm, dry climate would suit them anyways. I had always enjoyed a special relationship with my grandparents. Not only had I grown up in their home, but I spoke Greek before I spoke English. They got an apartment close to mine, and I was there most days, talking and laughing over my favorite home-cooked meals. The homesickness quite quickly evaporated. After I graduated from the University of Arizona with a degree in communications, I signed a 2-year contract to play professional basketball for Italy. Going pro took my athletic training to a whole new level. Once again, I thrived in the team atmosphere and enjoyed traveling Europe, although we rarely saw more than the basketball venues and the hotel rooms where we slept. When my contract ended, my former coach from the University of Arizona encouraged me to apply for a job as the director of operations for the women's basketball team at Temple University in Philadelphia. It was a busy, challenging position that required me to manage a lot of logistical details so that others could focus on training the team for competition. I also made all the travel arrangements and went to tournaments with the team and support staff. It was a great job, but after a few years, I just wanted to pursue a career in the healing arts, my other passion. I also wanted to work closer to home, where I would be reunited with my large extended family and many friends. I also know who I was, and I liked who I was. I was at the top of my game, certainly at that the groundwork provided by my education and athletic training would stand me in good stead, whatever challenges lay ahead. How wrong I was. In fact, nothing could have prepared me for an evening of January 2004 when life as I knew it came to an abrupt halt. I had just given my 2-month notice at Temple when the man I had come to know as a mentor and friend drugged and sexually assaulted me. Instead of being able to run, jump, and pretty much do anything I wanted physically during the assault, I was paralyzed and completely helpless. I could not move my arms or legs. I couldn't speak or even remain conscious. I was completely vulnerable and powerless to protect myself. After the assault, I wasn't sure what actually happened, but the pain spoke volumes. The shame was overwhelming. Self-doubt and confusion kept me from turning to my friends or family as I normally did. I felt completely alone, unable to trust anyone, including myself. I made it through the next few weeks by focusing on work. The women's basketball team was in the middle of the Atlantic 10 tournament, and I was traveling a lot. It was an extremely busy time for me, and the distraction helped me take my mind off what had happened. When the team wasn't on the road, however, I was in the basketball office. Where am I at? I was in the basketball office at Temple and was required to interact with Mr. Cosby, who was on the board of trustees. The sound of his voice over the phone felt like a knife going through my guts. The sight of the man who drugged and sexually assaulted me coming into my basketball office filled me with dread. I did everything my job required of me but kept my head down, counting the days until I could return to Canada. I trusted that once I left, things would get back to normal. Instead, the pain and anguish came with me. At my parents' house, where I was staying until I got settled, I couldn't talk, eat, sleep, or socialize. Instead of feeling less alone because I was back home with my family, I felt more isolated than ever. Instead of my legendary big appetite and hollow leg, a running joke in my family, I picked at my food, looking more like a scarecrow with each passing week. I was always a sound sleeper, but now I couldn't sleep for more than 2 or 3 hours. I felt exhausted all the time. I used the demands of my new courses to opt out of family gatherings and events, and to avoid going out with friends. As far as anyone could tell, I was preoccupied with my studies. But the terrible truth about what happened to me at the hands of a man my family and friends admired and respected was swirling around me inside. Then the nightmare started. I dreamed that another woman was being assaulted right in front of me, and it was all my fault. In the dream, I was consumed with guilt, and pretty soon the agonizing feeling spilled over into my waking hours too. I became more and more anxious that what had happened to me was going to happen to someone else. I grew terrified that it might already be too late, that the sexual assaults were continuing because I didn't speak out. Then one morning, I called my mother on the telephone to tell her what happened to me. She heard me cry out in my sleep. She wouldn't let me put her off and insisted that I tell her what was wrong. She wouldn't settle for anything less than a complete and truthful explanation. Reporting the assault to the Durham Regional Police in Toronto only identified the fear and pain, making me feel more vulnerable and ashamed than ever. When the Montgomery County District Attorney outside Philadelphia decided not to prosecute for lack of evidence, we were left with no sense of validation or justice. After we launched civil claims, the response from Mr. Cosby's legal team was swift and furious. It was meant to frighten and intimidate, and it worked. The psychological, emotional, and financial bullying included a slander campaign in the media that left my entire family reeling in shock and disbelief. Instead of being praised as a straight shooter, I was called a gold digger, a con artist, a pathological liar. My hardworking middle-class parents were accused of trying to get money from a rich and famous man. At the deposition during the civil trial, I had to relive every moment of the sexual assault in horrifying detail in front of Mr. Cosby and his lawyers. I felt traumatized all over again and was often in tears. I had to watch Mr. Cosby make jokes and attempt to degrade and diminish me, while his lawyers belittled and sneered at me. It deepened my sense of shame and helplessness, and at the end of each day, I left emotionally drained and exhausted. When the case closed with a settlement, sealed testimony, and a non-disclosure agreement, I thought that finally, I could get on with my life, that this awful chapter in my life was over at last. These exact same feelings followed me throughout both criminal trials. The attacks on my character continued, spilling over outside the courtroom steps, attempting to discredit me and cast me in false light. These character assassinations have caused me to suffer insurmountable stress and anxiety, which I still experience today. I still don't know that my sexual assault was just the tip of the iceberg. Now more than 60 other women have self-identified as sexual assault victims of Bill Cosby. We may never know the full extent of his double life as a sexual predator, but his decades-long reign of terror as a serial rapist is over. I have often asked myself why the burden of being the sole witness in two criminal trials had to fall to me. The pressure was enormous. I knew that how my testimony was perceived, that how I was perceived, would have an impact over every member of the jury and on the future mental and emotional well-being of every sexual assault victim who came before me. But I had to testify. It was the right thing to do, and I wanted to do the right thing, even if it was the most difficult thing I've ever done. When the first trial ended in mistrial, I didn't hesitate to step up again. I know now that I am one of the lucky ones, but still, when the sexual assault happened, I was a young woman brimming with confidence and looking forward to a future bright with possibilities. Now, almost 15 years later, I'm a middle-aged woman who's been stuck in a holding pattern for most of her adult life, unable to heal fully or to move forward. Bill Cosby took my beautiful, healthy young spirit and crushed it. He robbed me of my health and vitality, my open nature, and my trust in myself and others. I've never married and I have no partner. I live alone. My dogs are my constant companions, and the members of my immediate family are my closest friends. My life revolves around my work as a therapeutic massage practitioner. Most of my clients need help reducing the effects of accumulated stress, but I've also trained in medical massage at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York, and often help cancer patients manage the side effects of chemotherapy and radiation. I help many other patients too. People with Parkinson's, arthritis, diabetes, and so on. Some of my clients are in their 90s. I help them cope with the ravages of old age, reducing stiffness, aches, and pains. I like my work. I like knowing that I can help relieve pain and suffering in others. I know that it helps heal me too. I no longer play basketball, but I try to stay fit. Mostly I practice yoga and meditation, and when the weather is warm, I like to pedal my bike. up long, steep hills. It all feels like a step in the right direction, away from a very dark and lonely place, toward the person I was before it all happened. Instead of looking back, I am looking forward to looking forward. I want to get to the place where the person I was meant to be gets a second chance. I know that I still have room to grow. I would like to acknowledge some of the people who have helped me get here today. I will always be grateful for their counsel, friend, and support. Okay, here, I'm going to leave it here, and y'all can read over this, okay? This is thanks to, like, her family, friends, lawyers, and so forth. Okay, I mean, that was a very deep, an emotional statement. And I mean, if this happened, which, like I said, I do not doubt it. I don't doubt it. I wasn't there. But, if all of this did happen, I mean, he was sentenced, he was found guilty. If all of this did happen, then, my thoughts and my prayers are with this young lady. She needs to heal and get on, she needs help, healing so she can move on with her life. It's a terrible thing to be an assault victim like that. Very traumatizing. If y'all would like to send me anything, you can feel free to do so on my email, or you can add me on Facebook and send whatever you like through there. The links are down below underneath the video. If y'all have not subscribed to my other channel, please click on the link down below, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. So the next time I talk to y'all, have a wonderful day. I love y'all. Leave your comments and feedback below. Thank you.